Yeah, right. So it's friggin' what, like 11 o'clock or some crap, and I'm tired as balls. I'm basically, I'm really tired. Paracetamol, bit of codeine, caffeine, keep me going. We're gonna do a video about being an A-side rifler. So everything you need to do if you want to be an effective rifler on the A-side. So we're going to start with the pistol round. So, pistol round, you start in CT spawn. What you're going to do is you're going to point towards the stairs, and as soon as the round starts, you're just going to walk. You're going to come up here, and you're going to crouch your danger boxes, and you're just going to take rounds that come around that corner. Now, if you aim at the top corner there, yeah, right about there, that's about head height as they come around. So if you aim there, you can just get headshots for days, boys. Yeah, that's basically how you do the pistol round. I'll put an example. I'll show you a video example straight up next of how that works. Alright, so next, if you're solo A, if you're trying to defend A solo, let's say, okay, by this point, you got your rifle. So what you're going to do is you start your round, you're going to have your knife. As soon as the round says go, you go. You come to the top of the steps. Alright, rifle out. Now you wait here until you see the first peak. So if you see someone come through here, put a few shots on them, alright, and then back up to about this position. Or if you're really bold, come to here and just aim and get them as they go for the plant. So instead of just going bang, 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 then you come back here and you get them as they go for the plant. Right? The other thing to be aware of is when you're standing here aiming here, they can also come from apartments. Right? So just be conscious of that. But mainly you've got to come in, crouch, try and engage the first pick, retreat back off the site, and try and fight from behind cover. Just coming out and taking them out. Yeah, so that's just one key consideration to make when you're holding an aim. Now, if you're a bit fancy, later on in the rounds, you get utility. What you might want to do is come up here, right, align with these boxes, just the top of these boxes, and throw one over. So that'll basically burn them out, so they can't come out through there, which allows you to cross and come over to connector. It's a good little cover if you don't want to stay on A and you want to get through to connector. You can just throw fire in there and pin them back for a second. Gives you a bit more time. Right, so now we're going to do what is called a smoke show connector. Right? So if you've been called over and if the call is rifler to smoke show, rifler to smoke show, you're going to need a smoke. Right? So make sure you put your smoke in your hand, and as soon as the round starts, you're going to run. And you're just going to keep going, hold a steady line, just charge straight past and hope you don't get shot from there. Line up with that center post and left click throw. That plants a smoke right here, so you can see it's called a one-way. So basically you can see through and get them and pick them off, and they can't see you. And so basically what you'll do is you'll come through a connector, you'll hold, you'll look through smoke, and try and get some picks. Now I'll include a clip, an example of that working just next. Right. So the other thing to notice after that wonderful example, sometimes they don't all come through like they did in that demonstration. And sometimes you got to fall back. So if you're here and you haven't seen anyone from about 20 to 30 seconds and you've got no intel from your B player, then it's time to cycle back to the A site and do an A site retake, because that's probably where they're planting. Now, in the case of that, you've come from over here where you've just smoked a connector and you're trying to retake A where there's probably terrorists. The trick is, come along and cut close to the stairs, alright? And stay in here. Now, sometimes you'll get a guy peek out the side and you can take him out. Then you're going to go up the stairs and there'll be a guy, there'll probably be two dudes here. There'll probably go one guy planting and one guy covering. So you're going to pick up just enough to take them out, alright? Then you're going to look around and clean up whoever's standing in here, alright? And then come back down and go to the side and wait for someone to try and come around and get you and take them out there. So I'll include an example of that play next where it worked out really well. And that kind of position to retake A on one man, you can basically retake an entire bomb site if you're effective from connector. The other thing I will note is that pillar grenade there, we call that pillar. That's not the only way you can throw this smoke. Whilst that's a really good one way, if you're not a particularly accurate shooter, if you can't engage long range, then what you're going to want to do is, and this one takes a bit more practice and I don't normally do it, but you want to come from here essentially, and then you're just going to walk forward. When you get to about here, it's going to be a right click throw, and you've planted it here. Now what you can do is jump up onto danger box or box, and then just get them as they come out of the smoke. So they won't know that you're here, so you just hold this angle, come back from the corner, and just as they come through. But they'll never see you coming. The other thing is this still allows you to peek around this side and see through there if you want to get intel. So that's a really good one to throw. The next thing for A-side rifling that we're going to pay attention to is your comms, right? So as a rifler, it's really critical that you're aware of where everyone is. So let's say you're just you set up for your typical A-site hold. So if we say rifler hold A, that means you're coming and you're holding A at danger. So you come here, do your typical holds, and then you pull back. Now, if you spot anyone in apartments or anyone in here, you call that. You make sure you say, and you call it how many. You say one guy, you say one spotted. If you see multiple guys, you say, oh, I've spotted this, this many people, and then call out where they are. Now, in the event that no one comes to this site early on, you need to be making sure you're listening to the calls from your other players. If you're a window player, so I'll show you where window is, because this is connector. You'll see in the top left-hand side of the screen, it tells you what each place is called, so read those so you know where they are. Right, so this is connector. Now, sometimes if you're holding just behind those boxes on A, and you're guy in window, which is here, so this is window room, it's called sniper's nest, but most people just call it window. If you've got a guy in here, and all of a sudden he calls that there's enemies at mid, and this is mid, this whole area in here is called mid, if he says, oh, enemies at mid, then what you need to do is you need to rotate from behind these boxes, which is where you were, over to about here, so that you can either engage them while they try and turn the corner and go down that passage, or so you can get them as they try and come up the stairs. So if you do that, it means that the guy in Sniper's Nest, he's able to try and engage them and shoot them, and if they try and come in here to get onto A, you're already there waiting for it, because you know that the call's gone through, so you know that he's supposed to be here. So that's a really key thing for A site. So yeah, pretty much the typical things. So if you're told, okay, rifler, you hold A, you come up here, you do your engagement, you drop back if they're coming onto the site. If you're told to solo A, or if you're told to smoke show connector, that's the more technical play. So if you're told smoke show connector, you come through here, you lay whatever connector smoke works for you. I personally prefer this one and hold it with the AUG. If you see guys in mid, you call mid immediately. If you don't see guys in mid within about 15 seconds of the game start, then that's when you know to do your A site retake. So you come to the stairs and you try and clear the site strategically. So you hit your guys with bombs, then you come and you hit these guys, and then you've locked down A. It's a really strategic retake, and it's important if you're told to smoke show, because if you're told to smoke show, you've got to hold both sites. Right, now, another little thing we're going to look at. If you're the window player, now the window player is pretty much always going to be your AUG. Right, so if you've been told, okay, you're playing window, hold on, we'll just go through here. If you're told, alright, you're window player, basically you're going to have an AUG. Now, if you typically play rifler, you probably won't get called this, but anyway, if you're told go window and you have an AUG, you basically get your knife out, start around, go straight here, right, and then obviously bust the door when it's there and come across, and then you're going to crouch in this corner and just peek like just this much, because they can hardly see you when you're in this position, and you can still get easy picks on them as they come around the corner. Now, as your window player with an AUG, you should easily be able to hold down mid. They really probably shouldn't be able to get past you if you're in this room, in this position. One thing to note though, is that if you do see enemies coming and they engage you and you're low on health, right, a typical like grenade that is good to throw is either an incendiary right here, and now that stops them from getting onto B site, which means you can tell that your B player that you've got guys in mid and they're coming to him, and you can throw the incendiary, which will just slow them down, so give your B player a bit more time to prepare. The other one that is sometimes good to do if you're low on health and you're sort of stuck in this position, just bang off that wall right there, bang, right? That will get everyone in mid, and then you can just pop out and get some quick picks before they enter connector. If you're throwing that flash, you need to make sure that you tell any player that you've got in connector, you need to make sure you tell your connector player, hey, I'm flashing mid, so you call A. Alright, the last key defensive position we're going to examine is going to be the lurk. Now the lurk's an interesting position because it doesn't really have any requirements on what guns you use or what your fight style is. And the site that you lurk at in Mirage is B site. That's where you send your lurker. And a lurker's job is basically to stay somewhere, not move, and basically do nothing. In the hopes that, you know, that they can be a key defense if they're needed. So, the thing about being a B-site lurker is it's kind of hard to hold down this site by yourself if you're not prepared. So, you're going to want to make sure that you have a decent ranged rifle of any description. So SMGs, early round, and longer round, you know, whatever gun you want as long as you're competent with it. M4A1S is the right one for this map. But definitely damage weapons work well as well because it's a smaller area. What you're going to do is you're going to stay here and you're basically going to train completely looking down at abs. Right? You know that no one can come through kitchen because you've got a player in window and you've got a player at A. So unless they've called that they're dead, and you know, unless they said, you know, I'm dead or whatever, you can be sure that it's not possible for anyone to come from this position early round. So then all you need to do is focus on abs. Now you might be thinking, oh well, why wouldn't you focus on archers as well? That is pretty much a key bit of communication. If you know that you have a window player, or if you know that you have a connector player, then you have to just trust them to be able to make a call and say whether or not there's a player coming. If there is no call from them, assume that there is no players coming and just train up on abs from right this angle. Now, the problem is, that means you need to listen extra carefully, because if your connector or window player says that they're dead, then you need to watch out for archers as well, because now you don't know, you won't get a heads up, right? Which also means you do need to be paying attention when they do say, oh, you know, they're in mid, because that's your call to realise, okay, now they could be coming through archers, you know, so I need to be able to watch both. A good little trick to hold this site when you've got enemies coming through archers, and this is kind of a technical grenade, but essentially what you do is when you hear they're coming and the timings are really tight, so what you have to do is when you know they're coming, you basically step down from here, you run, jump, and throw that through. Alright? Now, with that nade, and that's a left click nade, it completely blocks them off, which means that if you throw that and get your timing right, so let's do it again as a run through, if you can throw that and get your timing right, it gives you time to get to this position here, where you can engage them, and then you can move around to the off angle and get them in here. So it just gives you time to get a bit more position on them. And while they're waiting there, you know where they are, and it gives your window player time to rotate from window onto kitchen so that he can back you up. Which means that basically, as soon as you throw that grenade, you need to call your window player and say, all right, B, B, B. So those are some key plays. Now, I will just go over some miscellaneous type nades and interesting things that sort of work for all positions. So B-site retakes are really hard. A-site retakes are much easier because it's an open space. B-site, once they've got B-site, it's hard to get back into it. So let's just say hypothetically you're coming from somewhere in this direction, maybe you're coming from CT, maybe you're coming through window, but you want to try and retake B. Really good play to make is just run through, nade, and now that one doesn't matter too much. Like my throw wasn't very precise, but it doesn't really matter whether or not it goes through the window, because flashing here, it will still get anyone peeking window, which will allow you to walk past without getting shot. The next thing to realize is there is almost always a player in this off angle here. What? There's almost always a player in this off angle here. So what you need to do, I'm just trying to make the lights and have a few There's almost always a player in the off angle. So what you got to do is when you come around this corner, I recommend you jump and spray right into this corner here as you come around, because if you jump, it's harder for them to get you, and you want to aim low and just try and spray them, because that way, with that jump, they'll shoot your feet and not your head, and you'll get really close in, and you can just put bullets in them, right? And don't be afraid to rush it really close and shoot them, because otherwise, if you just try and walk around this corner, they'll get you every time. So you need to jump around that corner and hit them. Right, once you get to this point, depending on what utility you have left, if you have another flash, drop a small flash out, and then just come here. That's basically the angle you want to take. You want to come close to this door so you know that no one's here, and then you want to pop out and immediately pin down the guy that's here. And if there's no one there, come to this wall, check this angle, then check this angle, and from there you got to kind of wing it, because you don't know exactly where everyone is. Now that's if you're coming through kitchen. If you're trying to retake B through archers, it's a little bit, I would say it's a little bit more straightforward. A really simple flash you can throw is, well, using a left click is just off that wall right there. And if you get that timing right, you'll notice how that exploded literally just as I rounded the corner. Right? And then that means the guy that is here, which there probably will be a guy, will be flashed. So that means you can just charge straight out, check that angle, and if there's no one there, then you can come onto the site, pin them, pin them. Alright, let's examine some other key nades that can be useful to know. When defending a site as a CT, say that we know the bomb's down today, so we've managed to get the bombs down today, right? So your AWP will probably be somewhere up here, you know, you'll be people spread around. Hey, really good throw. Smoke CT. Alright, so smoke them as they come through there, which means you can just easily pick them off. Then, over near jungle and connector, right, flame upstairs so they can't get the peak on you, and then just come down here and just get them as they come around the corner. Pretty typical positions to be in, you know, pretty simple way to hold. The only other thing I will mention, and this is not for CC side, which is our weakness side, but this is actually for T side, is a rifler's job on T side. So sometimes we start here in T side and we go, okay, we go A, you know, and typically I will throw a flash over, but that really shouldn't be, you know, my job for timing. So really, if I'm playing AWP, I should be in at Palace waiting, right? And two riflers or a rifler and a lurker come down here with a flash, immediately just pause here, wait like 2 seconds, throw a flash through, right? Then the next person comes through with an incendiary and bounces off that A. Right? And when you do that, you can clear out that position there. So that wasn't a particularly good throw, but essentially, what it should be is your first rifler calls and says, okay, I'm flashing, right? And then that means your guy at Palace knows to come out, and the second rifler through here comes, pegs at A, and bounces under. So that way, what you've done is essentially you flash the guys that are over here, so you can pick them up, so your sniper can pick them off easily, and then you flamed out underneath this position here, which means there's no one that could be lurking here to come up and get your sniper. And then from there, you sort of got to just wing it as well.